Welcome back to another edition of Whatchu Spinnin, the show where we ask what you spinning and fucking talk about it. We got George back with us, and as per usual, there's myself, there's Jake, and there's Matt. How are we doing today, boys?
Solid.
All is well.
Great.
Doing great. Such a nice day, dude.
Oh yeah.
I went on a walk before this and just taking it all in. It was hot though, but it's a good day.
Still good to get outside. That vitamin D. Get that refresher.
I went on a walk this morning too. Yeah, it's hotter than a ball sack, but yeah, it's good. It's good out there. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and dive into our picks for this week. We decided off cam to have Matt go first. So Matt, what do you got for us today?
I threw a curveball for everybody. Starting with a band called Zammuto. It's their self-titled album, Zammuto. By
What got you eat? Flow around so low. Crawl ashore to check you out. Soon we'll have a little monkey who'll follow you I know what got you eat. I know what got you eat.
a gentleman named Nick Zammuto. He had some previous success with a band called The Books, which was more of like a instrumental, kind of sample-heavy mix of different eclectic music. Zammuto's a little bit different because he combines his ability to songwrite and also combine instruments. Because basically that whole album is him doing all that stuff there. When he does live performances, of course, he'll hire different musicians to come on stage and play those instruments for him. But this album was unlike anything I'd ever heard when it came out back in 2012. And it's pretty much unlike anything I would ever listen to now because I don't have anything I can compare it to. Like if I were to think about like, oh, this sounds like, no, this is Zammuto. You know, it's got its own kind of genre. You could call it math rock or like electro prog if you wanted to. It's a very unique album. The music is there, and I enjoyed it. So what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it is very different to like most things that I have heard. It's cool that around that time, like we saw like the rise of a lot of like electronic music, like electronica and like dubstep and like house. And this is like not really like in that field. In a way, it kind of is like electronic a little bit, but it's like very different. It's like two separate sides from all of that. So I thought it was really cool. It's really unique. I had not heard of this. Is it a dude? Is it a band? Like, how did you find out about this?
It's a single guy, and I saw them open for a band called Explosions in the Sky. They played at the McDonald Theater back in like 2008, and they just happened to open for him, and I was just blown away. I remember the show because they played that track Zebra Butt, which is on the album we listened to, and it just the live version of that with the drum and it was just like, holy cow. I recorded a video of it, which I'll share with you guys at some point, but it just blew my mind, and I had never heard of him before, and I probably never would have heard of him had I not been in that concert. So it was a fluke, just happen chance.
That I like that song, Zebra Butt. That was a good song.
Yeah, Zebra Butt was really good. And I kind of had the same thing that you were just kind of talking about, Matt, because I like to try to find similarities to the stuff I have listened to and I'm familiar with, and I was like, this sounds like 8,000 different things I've heard already. Like, you know, it's just so like it was just such a mix of a bunch of stuff. There's like the electronic aspects in it. Some songs were more like I told you last night, I was like, every other song there's a different instrument that's like the focus of it, and I really enjoyed that. And it didn't have like the lyrics and the vocalist like wasn't really the focus of the group. It was all very instrument based, and I really like that. I'm glad you brought this up because I was like, I don't even know what the hell that is, and then I saw the album cover and I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. And then I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. This is badass, you know? Like,
Yeah, I think Jacob actually brought up a point that I was going to bring up too, because this came out in 2012, and that was like the height of like dubstep, and so this was like completely different. It's in its own like area. Um, it is super cool because like at certain points it's jazzy, but there's a bunch of mixed instruments. It's electronic at some point. There's a lot of like the bass is like really like rock heavy. I feel like sometimes. Yeah, I think it was just super interesting. Songs like Crabbing is awesome. Too Late to Topologize. Zebra Butt, Idiom Wind. Really funny names. But I also like the use of like the vocals or like computer like how do I say it? What's it called when you
it's like kind of glitchy. I know what you're talking
I forget
about.
what it's called.
They had a lot of different effects. I know he used a slicer effect on the opening track, Yay. You know, kind of like it cuts. It's like a slicer is what that is, whatever that is. But yeah. Different effects.
I liked to just touch real quick on Crabbing. I liked how it was like, what do you want with people anyway? And it's like warbling the vocals, and you just hear like the background music going like, and it's like a fucking fever dream. I really liked that track, even though it was just some interlude. I was like, this is actually one of the coolest songs on this thing.
Yeah, I think, you know, Yay, the opening track sets the tone for that whole album. And it almost sounds like you're drowning with that vocal effect in there. But there's melodies and there's hooks in that song, and throughout the whole album, you can find different melodies and hooks in all the songs there. And seeing them live was just, you know, it was eye-opening. I probably, like I said earlier, I never would have stumbled upon this band had I not seen them live. So that was a fun show. And it is very instrument heavy. It's almost instrumental in a sense, with those different vocals. But, you know, a lot of the lyrics that you hear throughout the songs they're good lyrics. Like in Idiom Wind, there's a few different good lyrics in there. That was one of my top tracks for sure.
I like
Auto-Tune, that's what it's called. I don't know why I just like forgot the name, but the use of like their Auto-Tune is like really cool. It's like very computer, like old school, which also is like, you hear that sometimes in like some songs from some people, but not multiple times throughout an album like that. And I thought that was cool and different. So this album is like really, really unique, especially for the time period. Like I definitely would have thought that this album would have came out like early 2000s, or like maybe late 90s, like around like the Propeller Head like era, like what 1996 or 7, I think it is. Yeah, I thought that was super interesting.
I don't know if you guys have heard or if you guys are familiar, but on some of the songs that it's like singing, like on Too Late to Topologize, like when it's singing and you hear like the vocals, it sounds a lot like, I don't know if you guys have heard 100 Gex. It sounds like just like that. It's very strange, and I thought it was real cool because like this came out before that came out, like 100 Gex. 100 Gex is like, maybe it's like weird. It's weird music. It's like very abstract. It's kind of trippy, but I could see how like this kind of like pushed like in a sense like that group, because like it sounds very familiar and like almost like you could say this is like the grandparent to that basically.
Sure.
But a lot of these songs I do like. FUC3PO or Fuck the 3PO. Right, that song. It's like kind of glitchy that it sounds. It's like very abstract, very like kind of like synth heavy and like electronic music. It's and it kind of reminded me at points like of like old school Daft Punk, like of their like robotic vocals and like how they make it like their music and stuff. But yeah, it's really cool
too. Yeah. It just reminded me of like Donkey Kong, like jungly shit, that beat on that song. It's just like
very video game.
That's badass.
Got a good build up to it.
Yeah.
My top 3 tracks were probably Zebra Butt, just because of the bass and the drum in that song. It's just like very like snappy and like quick. Idiom Wind, because of the lyrics in that song. If you listen to them, it's kind of about somebody kind of starting over and trying to do better. And then Shape of Things to Come. I feel like that's the kind of the ballad on the album that has kind of a, you know, a feel to it, and it's kind of slow and picks up and you can kind of sing along to it. An honorable mention, Too Late to Apologize. Everybody seems to like that track. for the hooks and the beats in that one.
Yeah, I think so. Idiom Wind is also really cool. I enjoy that one. And also, I just wanted to mention I wonder what the inspiration was behind the album cover art.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I look at it, and I mean, it spells out Zammuto, but in a weird font, which is super cool. It's like they're all just circles, but they're spelling Zammuto, which is cool to look at. And I mean, if you look at the letters, it's almost like if they're on fire, right? Which what's behind it, it looks like they're gonna burn something or whatever. So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting.
You know what it looks like, George? It looks like the letters from Pokemon. Talking about those
oh
whatever they're called.
Yeah. Right.
Fucking unknown or whatever.
The unknowns, or whatever. Yeah.
I know he was trying to start a new venture for himself, so maybe that's lighting that all on fire is the beginning of his new venture, from ending the books, stuff like that, and doing his own thing under his own name. I don't know, that's just a guess. I don't know. Could be something like that.
I mean, that makes complete sense, to be honest. Wow, that's super awesome. And this was his first album, right?
This one is, yeah. The follow-up to this album, I think you guys would probably enjoy more. There's more of a song structure to the songs, and it's catchy, and it goes from the classic Zammuto style that you hear on this album to more pop friendly in a sense. Not too much. You can still hear that electronic slice sound, but definitely a good band.
I love this, man. I think it's really cool that it's I like when there's no song structure. I like the randomness. I like, because it makes you pay attention. So I thought that was super cool. I don't know if you guys have anything else to say.
Yeah, if I had a top three, I'd pick "Grown Man Don't Cry." I really like that song. I like the double entendre, I guess, for the title, "Grown Man Don't Cry," or it's a grown man, don't cry. So that song was cool. Fuck C3PO, FU-C3PO, that song. And then same thing with Matt, The Shape of Things to Come. It was real peaceful, at first, and it's real mellowed, and then it builds up to it, and you hear the drums starting to come in, and it's really catchy. But yeah, great pick. Thanks for bringing this up, because I would never have discovered this.
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah.
Same here, man. If I had to do a top three, I thought I had it at first, because I went back and listened to it this morning, and I was like, all right, I kind of have it already outlined. And then I listened to the full thing again and heard the tracks a second time, and I was like, shit, okay, let's just completely turn this on its head. But
wait a minute.
Grown Man Don't Cry is my third. FUC3PO. That song, there's just so much going on in it, and there's so much to it that makes it just badass. And then number one, Matt, I've been talking about it since you introduced the album. That track, Yay Man, that just it grabbed me by the throat as soon as I heard it. I was like, oh, this album's gonna be fucking awesome. I was like, this song's legit. And so yeah, I love that slice effect on the vocals. It's just a very dope ass opener to the whole album. But those are my top three.
Very cool.
I think Crabbing. I like that one. That one has to be probably my first. Well, I kind of want to pick Too Late to Topologize. I'd have to go with Too Late to Topologize as my first. Second, The Shape of Things to Come. And then three, I think Crabbing, yeah. Crabbing might be the third one. Thanks, dude, because this is something way different from, anything I've ever heard. But I've heard various, aspects of, this album all put together. Is it's kind of one of those what are they called? They're like called garbage plates from like New York, where they just like throw everything, throw everything in
Yeah,
there.
it's
I
just a
feel like that's
hodgepodge.
kind of like, yeah, I feel like that's kind of like what this is, but I love it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, same here. Do we have any
Yeah, I'm
parting
glad you guys
words?
liked it. I'm just glad you guys were open to it. I know it's, I feel like it's an accessible album, even though it's very instrument and noise heavy. But if you have an ear for melodies and you can hear those, I mean, this album has all of them. All those songs have some sort of melody, whether it's a vocal melody or an instrumental melody, and you can wrap your head around that, and you can find unique likenesses in every song on that album. So glad you guys were open to it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, once again, thank you. Anyways, that was Matt's pick for this week, Zammuto's self-titled album from 2012. We will be back shortly to talk about the next one. Alrighty. Now that we just wrapped up talking about Matt's pick for this week, which was Zammuto's self-titled album, we're going to go ahead and dive into what George has to offer for us. What did you bring to the cast this week?
I picked Kaleidoscope by Kelis.
'Cause it just ain't love, 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 love. When you're in love with someone, when they leave, see you can still feel it. Since you feel they're the one, you close your eyes and you can still see it. If it's bright as the sun,
Talk to me, baby.
there's no turning back.
Yeah, second verse. What?
I don't need your lavish lifestyle to please me.
Their first album. It's kind of like pop R&B, kind of a little bit. Yeah, what did you guys? I want to hear what you guys have to say because I have so much to say.
Well, first off, like every time I listen to an album that you guys pick, I try like figuring out why you guys picked it. Like if it's for like the like guitar, or if it's for like the beats, or it's for like the singer or whatever. So I'm like, why did George pick this? And I know exactly why, because the production, Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo, the Neptunes, dude, it's really good. It's really good, and like listening to it, it's very well produced. The features on it are pretty banging. What song was it? Good Stuff it has Pusha T on it.
Yeah.
But it on the credits is shown up as like Terrare. Why is that? Do you know?
It's just one of his aliases that he like had at first. It was kind of like his,
Okay.
I guess, beginning name or something like that. But then he changed it. But yeah, I thought that was interesting too. But yeah, I didn't really look into it, but I think it's just one of his like earlier names.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because like I was like, this is Pusha T. But yeah, I liked a lot of the beats on this album mainly. But a lot of it is really catchy. Yeah, I could see the pop influences in it. It's a really solid. It still has that late '90s R&B. Mind me tomorrow. It still has that like late '90s R&B feel, but just with like really good like catchy and like very drum heavy and like beats to it, which is like typical for Pharrell Williams and NARD and Neptune. So yeah, I really like this album. I really liked it.
Yeah, and then also like so the Neptunes is a group, a duo of Chad Hugo and Pharrell Williams, and they pretty much like made a bunch of stars. Like they produced for other people, and they've worked with like Gwen, what's her name? Gwen Stefani, Britney Spears, Timberlake, Ludacris, a bunch of other people that just really like helped their careers out. And they made hits constantly, like just over the whole decade. Like they just made hit after hit after hit for people. And then this in 1999 album came out, this was the first time that they made like a whole album rather than just like singles or anything. So this was like an interesting album to me. And then not only that, this is Kelis' first album under their label, the Neptune's label, Star Trek, which is a play on words, you know, the Star Trek. So I thought that was like super interesting. And then also, yeah, Pusha T, part of the group, the Clips, and the Neptunes produced a lot of their stuff over the years. And I thought it was pretty interesting that, you know, they were under Star Trek as well. So like they all just kind of came together and helping each other out. Yeah, there's more I want to say, but what did you guys think?
It was definitely, it perfectly encapsulated that whole genre back in 1999, because this came out like middle to late 1999, and you know, you listen to it and it's a very solid addition to the music that was coming out at the time, you know, whether it was Erykah Badu or, you know, Lauryn Hill, stuff like that. It's similar to, you know, stuff that Erykah Badu was doing and being really famous for, but with a different twist to it that is more so beat focused, because, you know, mainly of the production. But there's some really good stuff in here, and the way, you know, we could go on and on about just the production side of things, but the way that Kelis is able to write lyricism and deliver vocals in a way that complements it and actually lets those beats shine through a little bit and really make it a really cohesive and put together song from top to bottom is, you know, that I feel like you can't sneeze at that either, you know. But I liked it. I actually liked it a lot.
Yeah, she's got a great vocal range, and her lyricism is, you know, pretty solid for that time. And like Dorian was saying, you know, with Badu coming out, you know, a few years before that, you know, everybody's trying to find their own voice, but, you know, she encapsulates her own, and she does it on her own. The song Ghetto Children, you know, that hook, Hey Now, that song just, I don't know, that was the whole album for me. You know, once I heard that track, I was just like, oh, okay, this is who she is. You know, there's so many different guest appearances on that track, but like that whole song, in a sense, just, you know, it rounds out the album, and it made me appreciate it even more. I'd never heard of her before or listened to any tracks by her, and knowing that Pharrell Williams produced it, this is probably one of his first hits. If it came out in '99, like he was just getting started with the Neptunes and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to see that progression too. For him as producer and helping out other people and getting people on the map. But I like the album. Very, very unique, very hook heavy. You know, you can listen to almost all those tracks and find a little melody in each one of them. So I appreciate this one. Thanks for bringing it up, George. I like it.
Hell yeah. So yeah, then like Ghetto Children, yeah, I really love that song. I feel like this album like really kind of was talking about like really important things too. And Ghetto Children is always like a song that kind of, it makes me feel some type of way, because she's like, hey, it doesn't matter what teachers are telling you, listen to us. Like we know what we're doing. All right, just ignore them. They're gonna try to tell you that you can't do this or you could do this. Nah. So I thought that was like super cool. And then on Good Stuff with Pusha T, I thought it was super cool because he ends the song with, yo, you're looking at stars. Yeah, you know who we are. Clips, Kelis, Neptunes, Star Trek, I'll be back, baby. Like, he's already kind of saying, like, yo, we're onto something big right now. And I thought that was cool. But yeah, I mean, she has like crazy lyrics, like, on Caught Out There, you know, she's talking about how, like, you know, her man was cheating or whatever, and just like kind of encapsulating how serious she is about it. She says, so sick of your games, I'll set your truck to flames and watch it blow up. Tell me, how are you going to see her now? So she's like, I'm not even going to slash your tires or key your car. I'm going to blow your car up. How are you going to see her now?
Dude, I really liked...
So I thought that was funny.
Dude, Marquita Ferguson on Mafia. Dude, she goes off. She goes
That's
off.
enough.
Like I haven't Yeah, dude, I hadn't heard of like her like rapping like that, and she went off, man. Like that was her song, like that. Like Kelis is a feature in her own like album. Like that's her
Yeah.
song. She was going off, dude, and like that beat on it too. It's like that classic like Neptune's beat. Um, but yeah, man, and Pharrell Williams in that like that's what I like about his production. He'll make his own sounds with like his voice. So he'll make like the like a record scratch with his voice. Like 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 he does that, and he like puts it in, and you can hear it throughout the track, which is really cool. And he even does that like after his like so in his own solo work. Um, but yeah, this whole album, I liked it. I hadn't heard of a whole full Kelis album because I had heard a couple of her songs. Because I know she was on a single on that record with the Neptunes. I think it's their first album, Star Trek, or their second album. But I think they only have
on their first album,
yeah.
Return of the
I'd heard of her on there, but I hadn't actually heard a full album of hers. And I liked it. I liked her voice. It had really solid beats. It had pretty good features, especially for the time. That's like, was that one of the first times like Push had been on like an album, or what? And when did Clips come out? I feel like that was.
I think
they literally came out that year.
Yeah, so it all would have been at the same time.
1999, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought it was funny when you like, yo, Clips, kill you Neptunes. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like songs too, like Mars. It's slow, but there's like a good chill break in that. Game shows, like it's like playful, like a playful song. Yeah, it's just super cool album. I think with their production is really it's easy to follow. Like it's really simple, it's digestible, and I think it's just like simple but effective. Keep it simple, stupid. And I think that's what they do. They're a good example of that. And then, like you guys mentioned, her voice. She's so good at writing with, all these beats, and she like fills in and everything. She's super awesome. And then, like the album cover art, so cool.
Oh yeah, super beautiful.
That was cool.
The whole like body painting, her hair, that's like freaking awesome.
Mhm.
Tell me you live in Eugene without telling me you live in Eugene.
The full body paint.
Yeah.
Another real quick, also, I wanted to bring it up because I know we haven't talked about it yet. Roller Rink, with Pharrell rapping on it. That was dope.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like hearing like a young Pharrell rapping on that. So, but
all right. Well, I mean, like I don't have much to say anymore. I mean, I don't. What do you guys?
What are your top three off of it?
My top three. No Turning Back. Just the start of that. Ghetto Children, and then Good Stuff. Yeah. It's hard to pick because like Mars is an honorable mention. Game Show's an honorable mention. Yeah, but I think No Turning Back, Ghetto Children, and Good Stuff are my three.
Hell yeah. I would personally have to say number 3, Get Along With You. 2, In the Morning. And then number 1, Caught Out There. Caught Out There really stuck out to me. The instrumental behind it was just so nasty. And then like the whole cheating thing that she was talking about again, top to bottom, fantastic. I was like, damn, all right. That's badass. So those are my top 3.
Matt, what were your top 3?
I liked, my top was Ghetto Children. It's just got a hook, and that's gonna stand out for me no matter what. Good Stuff coming in second. Mafia, that's also got a great hook to it. And an honorable mention for me was I Want Your Love. It was a nice little ballad.
Yeah.
I like that track.
Oh yeah, I like No Turning Back. That's probably my favorite. Mafia, because man, dude, I can't get over Marquita Ferguson. She goes off. So yeah, No Turning Back, Mafia, and then yeah, Good Stuff, because that's such a good like opening to like an album, especially having like Pusha T on it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention. Yeah, I Want Your Love is also a good honorable mention. It has like a big beat, but like it has a good use of guitar on that track, which is dope.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm really glad that you guys like this album. It definitely was like kind of different. But yeah.
Right on. Well,
right on.
Right on. I fucking hate you, dude.
I'm gonna send you that photo. Sending it right now.
You sent it to me the other day, and you're like, just in case, I know you've said it at least 5 times already, and it was only noon, and I was like, God damn it. Damn. Anyways, we just wrapped up talking about Kaleidoscope by Kelis, which was George's pick for episode 18. We'll be back to talk about the next one. All right. We just wrapped up talking about George's pick. We're going to go ahead and dive right on into Jake's. I'm super stoked to talk about this one, too. What did you bring for us, Mijo?
Yeah, so this week, Wise Blood, Titanic Rising.
Look around, there's nothing left to keep.
This came out in 2019. It's one of my favorite of that year, just because it really like opened up my musical taste and what I was listening to. First off, I'm gonna beat all of you to it. The album cover is fucking sick, and like even the back, it's like a follow up to the shoot. When they were like taking photos for the album cover, it was like an actual like live thing. Like they had her like in a room that was fully submerged in water, and like it had everything, like a bed, everything that you see there like is underwater basically. And then she would go down there and she'd like do poses and stuff for the photos. But yeah, this is definitely very different. I don't think we've ever brought up something like this. I was scared, to be honest, at first, just because I feel like this is one of those albums that like if you're on Aux and you play this, like the homie's gonna roast you. Like, but yeah, what'd you guys think of it?
I'll start off, man. I'm so happy that you brought it up because this is an amazing album. Like you said with the album cover, it's like an underwater bedroom scene in a sense. You know, they capture that really well, and it flows into the whole album. I feel like the whole album has that kind of flow. It's like a 70s soft rock type feel, you know, the whole time. It doesn't change. It might speed up or it might slow down a little bit, but it's always consistent. And it was a fun album to listen to. You could play it on a road trip, or you could play it at the dinner table while you're eating dinner. Like it has both those elements to it. You can do both with it. She has a good vocal too. She sounds like an angel when she's singing, and she can kind of get sassy too. There's a lot of good tracks. It was hard for me to pick a top 3 because I like the whole album a lot. But great pick, Jacob. Great pick.
Yeah, I was blown away, honestly, because I had seen this album because when like I was looking at stuff that had come out in 2019 because Matt and I spent like a whole slow day at work this week just comparing years in music, and I was like, let's see what came out in 2019 because I knew of some projects that had come out, and I had seen this prior to that, and I was like, oh shit, that only came out 2 years ago, and I never got into it until you brought it up, and again, I was blown away. Like, shit, my hairline receded more. I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, it was like, you know, not something like you kind of said, it's not something that you're going to exactly play for a certain, like, to get the homies going or whatever. But man, driving to this album it was kind of, I had the same feeling with this as I did with Godspeed You Black Emperor, to where I was driving and I was like, man, I could just keep going. I was like, I could just pass the branch and I could just be in Florence and just be a beach bum the rest of my life. Like, I don't give a shit, It it provoked a lot of emotions. Like, there was feelings of like epicness and like triumph, and then there was like shit where I was like, man, I'm about to cry. Like, it was an incredible pick. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I think I've never even heard of this at all, ever. Like, it was crazy. For it to come out in 2019, yeah, 2019 was a weird year. I feel like, but like it, so like the way she writes, I feel like it's kind of like oldies type of way of writing, if that makes sense. And it's like all really heartfelt and everything like that, and like what is it called? Picture Me Better. Yeah, it's just really wavy, like you were saying, Matt. It just like flows in with the album cover art, which is absolutely insane. The movies is really awesome too. But yeah, it's just like really wavy. It's slow. It's super heartfelt, and it does almost want to make me cry sometimes.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So like real quick, just because I feel like I need to bring it up. It's cool seeing her evolution, like where she was and like how far she's come. Because this is her most recent album. I think she's done like 3 or 4 other albums. But she used to be a part of a group, Jackie O Motherfucker, which they're actually based out in Portland. And she was the bassist for them for a while. So I had heard a couple of songs from that group, from that band. And then from there, like, I was like, oh, okay, like this girl, she like plays bass and she also sings. So like I had heard some of her stuff, but it hadn't really like blown me away per se. I was like, oh, okay, this is good. But when this album came out, it had like huge major success. Like, it was very critically acclaimed by like a bunch of different like what's the word, like enthusiasts and stuff, and like it got a lot of really good ratings and really good scores. It's like a lot of like late 60s or early 70s like pop, you could say. And it does have a lot of it kind of sounds a lot like Beach House, and
Yeah.
it has like a lot of influences with like George Harrison and like Karen Carpenter. Like, she gets compared to a lot with Karen Carpenter. But yeah, it's like very poppy, very dreamy. It's like almost enchanting at sometimes, and then it's like really cinematic too. Like, it's like, that's how I would describe this. It's like very different. It's like, so you go into it kind of expecting one thing, and it's like completely different than what you would like expect. But yeah, when I first heard it, I was so captivated by it. And like the music videos to it, I sent you guys a couple music videos to it. Man, they are super, like they elevate the music to like such a like high level. In movies, thanks for bringing that up, George. In movies, the video for it, they're like in a movie theater, and there's a bunch of people in like the seats or whatever, and she's like on the big screen and she's swimming around like in the album cover. And then like someone goes up to the stage and like jumps into the screen and they start swimming too, and then everyone just goes and like starts jumping into the big screen or whatever, and they're like all swimming around and shit. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really trippy, but yeah, I really like the production on it. It sounds very smooth and like very well like produced. Just especially on that stance, like I was so blown away by it. It's like not choppy at all. It is like almost flawless.
I agree.
Yeah, but it was definitely.
Yeah, it reminds me of. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go for it. Yeah, you're good.
I was gonna say it. there's certain songs that from like Mac DeMarco, for example, that reminds me um, of her. Just because like it's the slow, like I don't even know what to call it, like almost like folk music. I'm not sure if that's the right description. Um, but yeah, it's just like it reminds me of Mac DeMarco sometimes, and yes, Beach House as well. Her voice is very like flowy and dreamy. Uh, yeah, this is definitely not something I'd play for the homies, but I definitely would put this on, you know, if I'm just like trying to chill or something. It is kind of heavy though, so it's hard to just like listen to it casually. But I think it's dope, dude. This is awesome. And then you said this is like the third or her third album.
Or like third or fourth, yeah. She had done like for her solo stuff. She had done. This is the most recent one, and I think she's rumored to bring out another album. But yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. It's
What's with the production behind it? Is she with like a group of people, or I have the same question that Jacob had for Zammuto.
For the production, I think she was working with someone specifically for it that produced the whole thing.
Okay.
But it's like Jonathan Rado. I think it's produced like mainly by him, and I know that she did some production on it. But the production on it, it's like very like you could hear it like throughout the track, especially like starting and end. Sometimes it has that like radio frequency that it's like starting up and it's like coming in, like Andromeda, like that song.
Yeah.
Same thing with Wild Time. Wild Time, it has that too. Like at the ending, it kind of sounds like it's like someone like turning a dial, and then it's like cutting the song off. But yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. It was definitely something very different. Something I was like, all right, I'm gonna test the waters a little bit, see how far I can get away with this. So yeah, what are you guys' top three in that case?
Just it felt like a concept album, you know, based on like somewhat of the Titanic itself, you know, the ship that sank. I think I read something about it having an impact on this musician, so that's probably why she wrote about it a little bit. But Andromeda was one of my favorite tracks. It's an epic track. Something to Believe. The guitars on that are really cool, and it's got like a happy and kind of sad flow to it. Wild Time, there's some amazing melodies in there. And then my honorable mention is the Titanic Rising, the title track. You know, I think it's all instrumental, but it's short, but it's just kind of it's ambient, and it reminds me of like if Joni Mitchell, you know, a 70s musician, you know, wrote an album and Brian Eno produced it. That's what this would sound like. It's very like ambient in a sense like that. So those are my picks.
Dorian.
That comparison was fucking awesome. I liked that. That was funny. That was really good. My top three, number 3 would be Mirror Forever. I really liked that one. Number 2, everyone seems to like it. Movies. I really liked Movies. And then number 1, a lot's gonna change was, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I find like a song right off the get that I just get hooked on, and that was this for me, similar to Yay by Zammuto. I was like, man, that's just like an epic, like, you know, start to this album, and it really just lets you know, hey, like what you're getting into. And I feel like that song, when I played it, I was like, man, this makes me feel like all sorts of different ways. I like this. And so that was
my top 3, I like Picture Me Better, Movies, and then I like Nearer to Thee, just because like they're not saying anything and it's just like a nice like, I don't know, that was kind of like a weird one, but like I like that one a lot. But yeah, I think those are my top 3. I do want to pick Andromeda because that one's super good too, or Something to Believe. But yeah, I think Picture Me Better, Movies, and Nearer to Thee.
Yes. I love that you guys picked the instrumental tracks because those are really good too. I really like those.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick a top 3, it's hard for me. I feel like with any album, like the more that you listen to it, you get a lot more out of it, and then you end up liking it a lot more. So I've heard this album a couple of times, especially some specific songs off of it. I really like A Lot's Gonna Change. I think it's a fantastic opening to an album. And then Andromeda, that's like the most popular song on it. It's very good. It's very different, and it's like kind of like ambient in a way, and like it's very unique, especially throughout the whole album. And then Wild Time. I really like Wild Time. Some people don't like Wild Time. Some people kind of bash on it, but it was one of my favorites when I started hearing this album, and then like even now I still really like it. But yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. That was Wise Blood. It's something very different, something very unique, but yeah.
Yeah. For sure, but it is very different, but I feel like most people that would listen to this, if somehow, like if they stumbled upon it, or even if they end up listening to it because they saw this episode, I feel like it's accessible enough. It's just different. It's like if Lorde and Lana Del Rey combined and did DMT, this is what would happen.
Yes, dude.
Like, because it kind of has like that, very vocal heavy kind of thing, but the production behind everything and just the emotions and how she delivers it. But yeah, I'm really glad you brought this up too. I loved it. But with that being said, that was Titanic Rising by Wise Blood. We're going to go ahead and dive into mine after a short recess. All right.
Fuck. There's a fly
So to wrap things up, we're going to go ahead and dive into my pick for this week, which was the Front Bottoms self-titled debut from 2011.
There's comfort in the silence of a living room. The TV is on for you. Hide in your basement while your house burns down. Your teeth are loose inside of your gums. They will eventually fall out. Follow an orange extension cord under a carpet to a closet door feeding the black light that will someday make me very, 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 very rich.
And as Jake showed off with his album, this is actually a double-sided album cover. This is the singer and guitar player Brian Sella. On the front, it's a watercolor of him, and then on the back is the drummer, whose name is Matt something. It's like weird ass name, but I'll find it in a sec. What's his name? It's right here. Matt Weyes. Yeah, Weyes. Yeah, something weird. But anywho, I thought that was pretty cool about the album cover. A band from New Jersey. This was their first debut, which they essentially just combined the two EPs that they had released up until this point that were basically released independently. They got a deal with a small record label, and they wanted to put out an album as soon as possible, and so they just combined the two EPs and just kind of rearranged the track listing. I personally love this album. It's an album, like, I have listened to this album, whether it's streaming or this vinyl. I have done it so many times. I know it like the back of my hand. But what did y'all have to say about it?
Real quick, this is AJJ, right? Like vocally, like he's like that him, right? It's not.
No, it's Brian Sella. The singer for AJJ is a guy called Sean Bonnet.
What, dude? This sounds just like him.
I was gonna bring that up
the
dude.
whole time. I was like, okay, so this is AJJ, like his band before he like went solo or whatever. It's not him.
No.
Wow, I'm surprised. I didn't do my homework. But,
no, AJJ's a band. Sean Bonnet does have solo work, but no, this is a completely different entity.
Oh, dude, it sounds almost exactly like it. What the fuck? That kind of blew my mind. But no, I really like this, dude. I really like this. It sounds like AJJ. You described it last week. It sounds like AJJ, but like more accessible and like very indie. It's like very like a lot more upbeat. You hear a lot more drumming. Like you hear drumming like more than anything. Like a lot of more instruments, and it just comes together a lot better. And it sounds like a really good like indie tracks, a really good indie album that I could just play and listen to and enjoy. So Damn, I'm kind of blown away. This whole time I'm like, dude, this is AJJ's band or whatever the fuck. It's not. What?
You're right though. His vocal does sound a little bit similar to his.
Right?
You know, I felt like this album was a little bit more fast paced than the AJJ stuff. It was a little bit more catchy. You know, that song "Maps" for me, that sets the tone for the album. The strings in that, those little quick strings that you hear in the beginning of the song and throughout the song. That's a great hook. And that whole album, the songwriting is very unique and dark or happy, however you want to look at it. It was a fun album all around. And they got trumpets. I mean, Jesus Christ, you got people playing trumpets in the background. And anybody who's playing the trumpets, you know, if you can add that into a song,
on
make
Father.
it catchy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I thought I didn't think it was him. I'm like, there's no way it's AJJ. But I'm like, they sound really alike. Same thing with that dude from Neutral Milk Hotel. Yeah, it's just that, you know, Blink 182 like singing type thing. That's in punk. I'm not really well versed in like punk, so this was challenging, but I tried listening to it, and I was pretty surprised. And I actually found myself listening to Mountain a lot, because he says I just go up the hill just to ride my skateboard down, and I'm like, that's what I do every single day when I get off work. I go up Donald, I go all the way up, and then I just coast all the way down. So I thought that was like super funny. I'm like, and just like super funny lyrics. I think it's also on that song where he's like, I like your awkward like expressions or something like that. I gotta pull up the lyrics, but yeah, it's
I think he says, I love your eyes the way they look when they're uncomfortable. Might be the
they're
lyric.
comfortable, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that was awesome. Yeah, dude, it's what is it's like all it is it all like alternative punk, or like how would you describe this as?
It's like, to me, it isn't really punk in my opinion. This is another one that's kind of hard to pigeonhole into a genre, but I would call it, even though it's the band's from New Jersey, it kind of fits the mold for this like Midwest, almost like emo indie that was coming out in the early 2000s, like acoustic indie that was really emotional. There was a big movement of that in the Midwest and kind of the South, just like random states that aren't really known for music. There were bands like Modern Baseball popping up. Front Bottoms was a huge part of that. Sorority Noise, like all of these bands were just popping up in random fucking states, and it just got kind of classified as like this Midwest indie shit, I guess. I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like, it's indie, and the only thing I can describe it to is because of that, and so I just call it like Midwest indie emo or something like that. It's whatever the hell you want to call it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just hard to like. I was listening to it, and I'm like, it's hard to like try to categorize this, because they have like really strong elements of different genres, but they're so strong, so it's hard to like really say where it's at. It's like, is it this or is it this? Usually the voice for me that I'm like, okay, this is just like punk music. Yeah.
So
yeah,
funny.
I think I really liked this, dude. I really do. Like, I will be listening to this. It's probably my favorite of the albums that we picked out this week. Just because it does sound, it has the same lyrics that like I heard from AJJ, that it's kind of random. It's really funny. One of the lyrics that I really liked on Father, which is one of my favorite songs, probably one of my picks, where a lyric is like, long time ago, my great, 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 great. And it sounds like he's just going like 10 greats, like great grandfather. And I'm like, what the, like, it threw me off. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's like, it's kind of like nervous lyric. Like, he sounds like he's like nervous at times. And even at times, it sounds like he's laughing at his own lyrics. So I think that's really cool, that he's like having fun with it and shit. But Yeah, I really like this. I really do like this. So great
Hell
pick.
yeah. I have a couple last things. First off, I have a question for y'all. Have you ever had a group or an artist, like a musical artist, that you've had multiple people recommend that you listen to, and then one person you have an interaction with them and they tell you to do it, and you're like, fuck it, I'm finally going to listen to this goddamn band or whatever?
Yes.
I had 4 people from completely different walks of life. Like, I had people from my hometown. I had someone from my hometown tell me to listen to these guys. I had people I met at parties tell me. I had people I met at a concert. And then finally, one of my old roommates from Missouri, Tyler, he was like, we were talking and I showed him AJJ and he was like, well, have you ever listened to the Front Bottoms? And I was like, you know what, dude? You're the 4th fucking person to tell me to
Finally.
listen to this goddamn band. Put them on. I was like, I'm tired. Like, I keep meaning to, but I always forget because the name, or whatever. And so I was like, put them on. And that was history. And I loved it. But I wanted to get your opinions on 2 different tracks, too. What did you guys think about the song with the longest title? The boredom is the reason I started swimming. It's also why I started sinking.
It's one of my top 3.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
But
This
it's
is a great
super
track.
good.
Yeah, it's a good track.
When, cause like I don't know why I do this thing, but like every time I'm like listening to a song, like I wait for the title to like move across the screen. And every time I listen to this, I'm like, it just kept going. I'm like, when is it gonna stop? Yeah, that was a cool song. Yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do like that one. That one didn't make my top 3, but I thought it was dope.
I had to
What
look
was the
up
other song?
I had to look up the title because I saw it on like Spotify. I was like, what the like this keeps going. So I was like, I just looked it up like on Discogs, see the full title and shit. Yeah, the boredom is the reason I started swimming. It's also the reason I started sinking. Like what?
Yeah.
What kind like this dude just made a run-on sentence for a title of a track. Like so what the
I
heck?
love it though.
Yeah.
I love that
Tell
song.
me your name is George without telling me your name is George.
That song is probably in my top 3 for sure. I really like that song. A
Yeah.
lot of these songs they have that. I get why they could kind of be like you could put them in the indie category because they do have that like a beat. It's like feels real cheerful, real like happy and stuff. But yeah, a lot of the tracks on it, I found myself coming back to, and yeah, man, it's I'm definitely gonna be listening to this a lot more, just because like the first listen, like I was already hooked on it, like it caught my ear, so.
Oh yeah. And then one thing on that, I told Matt earlier this week because he's like, man, I'm really liking your album, and I said it's a perfect album for road trips or when you're alone and you're dealing with some shit and you just have to force yourself to cry. Like, put on fucking Swimming Pool and you'll be fine. Speaking on that, one of my favorite little instrumentation parts of this entire album is the end of Swimming Pool when it's going nuts, and then there's like that nice little piano run, and then they just start going dun, dun, and just like mashing the fucking keys of the piano. If you go back and listen to it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's just like you can literally tell that they're just like whole hand, just not even doing chords, just like mashing 6 keys.
Yeah.
And also at the end of that song, there's a typical thing for this genre is like the voicemail recordings at the end. That's where it's like, I'm breaking up with you, I'm done, bye. That's the drummer's dad calling the drummer and cussing him out about like a relationship that the drummer had just gone through.
Okay.
And his dad's like cussing him out, like, what'd you go over to her house for? Blah, blah. And it's like, if you listen to that song enough times, you can start to pick out what he's saying. But yeah, that's literal voicemails from the drummer's father. And
Wow.
yeah. So on that note, my top 3, I'm going Flashlight. Number 2 is The Boredom is the reason I started swimming. It's also the reason I started sinking. And then number 1 is Swimming Pool, because that song, top to bottom, fantastic. I can listen to it when I'm happy. I can listen to it when I'm sad. or angry. You know, it's just all around a great song. But what were your guys's?
I like Maps lyrically. Like I said earlier, the strings on that song are really cool. The beers, I like the hi-hats throughout that whole song. You hear that basically throughout the whole melody. Everybody likes The Boredom Is the Reason. You know, that's a great track too. And then my honorable mention is Rhode Island. Felt like that was kind of the anthem for the album in a sense. Those are my picks.
Yeah, so I picked Mountain literally just because I have listened to that song a number of times when going up that hill. I know it's just the beginning and there's more to it, but it's like that. I resonated with that and I like it. And Rhode Island made my top 3. And then I want to pick Father. But I also want to pick, Father. I'll pick Father as my 3rd. This was like something completely like different that I don't listen to. Like I've tried listening to like, as far as punk, like I've tried listening to like Blink 182 or whatever, but then I'm just kind of like, I don't want to listen to it. But this one was a pretty sick pick, dude.
Oh yeah, I really like this pick, Dorian.
Hell yeah.
Like I said, I'll be coming back to this for sure. If I had to pick a top 3, I feel like all of the tracks, they have a funny hook, like a really funny hook. Like Mountain, George, Mountain is really good because it's like, stop taking pictures with your phone, like that one. And then the beers, it's like the summer I was taking steroids because you like a man with muscle or whatever. Like
that is actually my favorite hook on that chorus is my favorite on the whole album because you like a guy with muscles and I like you. It's so hilarious, but it's like we've all felt that way at some point. Like you're trying to do something to impress a potential partner and you're like, you know, so that I was like, man, I resonate with that, but that's funny as fuck.
That was super funny. It caught my ear, like especially on that song. And that fact that it's titled The Beers, like, dude. But if I had to pick a top 3, I'm picking my favorite is probably Flashlight, just because it's such a good. It's like bam, it's like right there, like especially for like beginning of the album. And then I really like that really long song, The Boredom. The Boredom is the reason I started swimming. It's also the reason I started sinking. I really like that song. It's a mouthful saying that whole title.
Oh fuck yeah, it is.
And then Father, you hear those trumpets at first, and like it scared me, like it startled me at first. I was like, oh shit, like came out of nowhere. It's like, but yeah, those are probably my top 3. So yeah, I'm definitely coming back to this. It's a great pick, man. So
hell yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad you guys liked it so much because as I've said, it's an album that like anytime me and my girlfriend drive for an extended period of time, I at least put on half of this album, you know, and just let it eat because it's that good. But with that being said, that was the self-titled album from the Front Bottoms, their debut. We're going to go ahead and dive into our picks for next week, episode 19, one episode away from the 1995 episode of Whatchu Spinnin. We're all going to be covering albums from the year 1995. We've already heard a good handful because George knew we were doing 1995 and still decided to do like 3 albums afterward that came out in 1995. It's pretty genius. But he made it. But the thing is, I gotta hand it to you. You picked albums that I wouldn't have thought of picking. And then it was like 1995. All right, well George picked this one already, and then you were like, this came out in 95. This came out, and I was like, oh fuck, I wouldn't have even thought to pick those.
There's a lot that came out in 1995, dude.
Oh yeah.
In terms of rap, I mean, there's other genres that I don't even know that it came out in 1995.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that episode. So that'll be episode 20. But let's talk episode 19. So Matt, what do you got for us?
I was kind of going back and forth on my pick. You know, I kind of shared with you what I might pick, but I think I even lean more towards what I'm picking now based on something you said about your pick, the Front Bottoms, how multiple people told you to listen to them, you know. And for me, that band was in high school. It was a band called Floater, and this is the album I'm choosing. I had multiple people
Floaters,
tell me
okay.
about this band, and in 1995, 96, I was more into like Too Short and Liquid Swords and hip hop and that, All Eyes
Yeah.
on Me came out. It was a different aspect. So it took me a while to get in the Floater, but when I did, I was a fan. This is a band from Eugene, Oregon. It's a local staple. Most people that live in Eugene have heard
Wow.
of Floater. So
You
I'm
beat me.
excited to talk about this.
Did beat
album.
me to it.
I
I've
did.
heard-
I've heard both of you bring this up a bunch of times. I'm like, one of them's gonna talk about Floater. So ready
As soon as it, like, literally when I told him that, I was like, hey, we'll add you as a full-time member, and the next thing I said was, one of us is going to bring up Floater first, and I'm interested to see who it is and what album, because we've both seen Floater multiple times. Like, that was one of the things that made me and Matt like bond over music and shit. So, and that's a great pick. So I back that up. That's a great fucking album. I'm excited to talk about it. But George, what you got, pal?
I picked Getz Gilberto by Stan Getz and Joao Gilberto. It's like a jazz bossa nova album. I think you guys, Stan Getz has worked with other jazz musicians before, but I think you guys will like it. Maybe.
I'm
I
excited,
don't know.
George. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
need more jazz. I love jazz. Yes.
Yeah.
My pick next week. The Aquatics doing it. This is badass. This is badass. Some good old funk, some good old soul. I really think you guys will dig it. So
Sweet.
I'm excited to listen to all three of these picks so far, and I recently finished Stranger Things, and a song off of this was a massive part to the finale, so I had to do it. I'm going
Here we
Metallica,
go.
Master of Puppets.
nice.
One of my favorite albums of all time.
Hell yeah.
I have a lot to say about it. I've been listening to this album literally as long as I can remember. Like, I'll get into it on the next episode, but my dad has memories of me as a toddler listening to this song or this album. But anyways, yeah, Metallica, Master of Puppets, 1986, going a little throwback there. But those are our picks for episode 18. Jacob, you are pixelated as hell, but we'll go ahead and continue. It's like your face. Oh,
Am I? Is it
Yeah.
better?
I have to take a picture.
You look crazy.
I look like
Anyways,
a Minecraft character.
you look like somebody's making a character in 2K. Like, oh fuck! You don't. Anyways, those are our picks for episode 19. This has been Whatchu Spinnin, episode 18. We will see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.